Alright, what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video guys, we've got some custom tactics and player instructions for honestly my favourite formation in FIFA 23. I've been using it a lot over the past couple of weeks on pro clubs, ultimate team. It's just been amazing for actual real football. So if you're somebody that actually likes linking up the play, making really nice creative goals, then the 4-2-3-1 is amazing. And I'll tell you the reason I like it so much is because unlike formations like the 4-2-2 where even though it has those two cams, they're not actually very central. With the 4-2-3-1, you have that central cam, that central striker, and then you have your wider players with the right cam and left cam. It just makes attacking so much more varied and easy in my opinion, and just gives you more of a fighting chance through the middle, which is why I love it so much. But without wasting your time guys, let's get right into it. It's time for futties, so if you guys want any FIFA 23 coins, make sure you check out MMOXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're fast, cheap and reliable, and if you use my code Rema, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. Okay then guys, so starting off with today's custom tactics, for the defensive style I like to have this on balance. Now the reason we do this is because it does give us the best control over our defense. So when we want to press our opponent, we're able to do that because we're able to obviously press manually, and then when we want to drop back, be a little bit more passive, we can also do that because we're on the balance style. This isn't really possible with the other settings because they're very one-dimensional and very restricted, which is why I don't suggest them so much. Now moving on to the defensive width guys, I have this on 35. Now this is important in my opinion because we want to block off those central areas as much as possible. We want our defense to be nice and narrow and compact, which stops your opponent being able to just run right through the middle of you, stops you leaving so many gaps, and it just makes it easier to defend. Now the reason we don't lower this width all the way is because it's still important to maintain some of the natural width of the formation to cover the wide areas in case the opponent goes for one of those wide attacks. So we want to be narrow but not too narrow. Now moving on to the depth guys, I honestly really don't think it makes that much of a difference in this game a lot of the time, but it does make a difference. For example, when you're on the attack and you lose the ball, that's the main area where I've noticed it, but everyone always ends up in a drop back state at the end of the day. So the reason I have this on 60 is because it makes sure that that defensive line isn't always crazy low. So the moment we lose that ball, our defensive line isn't already going to be back in our box, so we are able to press a bit higher up the pitch and win the ball back in certain positions. And on the flip side, the depth isn't too high to the point where our defensive line is crazy high and one through ball absolutely destroys us. So it is really nice and balanced, which is why I do like it. Now, moving on to build-up play, guys, I have this on balance. This is because the 4-2-3-1, in my opinion, is all about balance. So the reason balance works really well is because you can pick and choose when and where you use each style whenever you want. So, for example, when you want to play a bit slower, you can do that. When you want to play a bit quickly, a bit faster, I'm messing up my words here, you can do that. You can really pick and choose when and where. Whereas if you use something like fast build-up, you're always going to have to play quickly, and there's not a lot of variation playing like that. So balanced is the way to go in my opinion. Moving on to chance creation guys, absolute must in my opinion is direct passing. This is because it makes your attackers like back up against the opposition defenders, meaning you can do the very overpowered 1 versus 1 plays to create a lot of chances. It's a shame that this game is like that, but it's super important to have direct passing, otherwise your players move like idiots. Now, moving on to the attacking width, guys, I have this on 42. Now, this is because the 4-2-3-1 narrow is still obviously a narrow formation, so we don't want to make it crazy wide, otherwise we might as well just use the wide variation of the formation. So we have this on like a more narrow width, so we can play nice and narrow, but not too narrow at the same time. We don't want our players to be sat on top of each other, for example, but we can still play nice and narrow while still maintaining a little bit of width in the attack. Moving on to players in box, guys, we have this on 3. This is so we can get a few players into the box to finish off those chances, but we don't overcommit everyone on the team to the point where we're getting counter-attacked. And as for corners and free kicks, guys, I have these both on 1 because there is a set piece routine that I use which requires this to be on 1. There is a link to that in the top right hand corner of the screen if you are interested. Now, moving on to player instructions, guys, on the striker, we have him on stay central and get in behind. Now, the reason we have him on stay central central is because we don't want him drifting off into those wider areas. He is our striker, so we don't want him going super wide all the time. We've already got the Ram and the Lamb for that, mine being Sterling and Saka, so we don't need him drifting off into those wide areas. We want him to stay in the middle where he should be. We also start him off on getting behind because against a lot of opponents, this is very effective. A lot of opponents won't pick up that run in behind all the time, and it's very easy to get that ball off and create a lot of chances that way. What I will say, however, is when you go up against a higher end opponent, they read those passes a lot more. They read those runs a lot more. They're always tracking them before you do it, so it becomes very predictable, in which case I switch him to mixed attack as he makes more versatile movements. Sometimes he'll drop a little bit deeper, other times he'll run in behind. It just makes you a lot less unpredictable and makes your attack a lot more fluid, in my opinion. Now, moving on to the cam, we have him on stay forward and then we leave him alone. We have him on stay forward, so we've always got like another outlet when we win the ball back other than the striker. Now, the reason we do this is because sometimes in this formation, it can be very difficult to get the ball up the pitch when you win it back in your own half. So by putting this player on stay forward, it gives you another option other than the striker to get the ball up the pitch and kickstart your attack that way. We leave him on the default settings everywhere else though, because we don't really want to restrict him all that much. Now, moving on to the right cam and the left cam, guys, we have them on comeback on defense, which is very important, and get into the box for cross. Now, we have them on comeback on defense because these players can be so stupid when you have them on basic defensive support. They won't track the basic runs and they'll leave a lot of gaps, but when you put them on comeback on defense, they will make this midfield like a midfield 4, so you can defend in like a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1, and it just makes you a lot more solid when we don't have the ball. These players will come back to defend as a left mid and right mid. So yeah, it just makes you very good in the attack and the defense. We also have them on get into the box for cross, so they're not hesitant to get into the penalty area when we do create a chance. These players can be very static on balance crossing runs. Now, moving on to the left CDM, I use a more defensive minded player, so I have him on stay back, cut passing lanes and cover center. We have him on stay back because this guy's like a security guy. He's an anchor. He's going to be there to break up the play, so we always want this guy back. Then we have him on cut passing lane, so he's always looking to intercept those passes and cut out dangerous attacks. And then we also have him on cover center, so he does defend those central areas, as we don't need him to cover the wing, as we've got enough players to do that already. For the right CDM, guys, I like to use a more box-to-box style player. So this is somebody that will attack and defend, have a bit of a free roll, and basically do a bit of everything. So we kind of just leave him alone, as we don't want to restrict him all that much. We kind of want to let him do his thing. The only important thing is that we have him on cover center, so he does defend those central areas. Now, moving on to the left back, guys, I use a more attacking fullback here. Now, the reason we have them on balanced attack and overlap in the left back position is because, like I said, the 4-2-3-1 is a narrow formation, so we're always going to be playing through that middle, but that also makes it very difficult to attack against good opponents at times, so we need to get that extra wide option to help us out in situations. So by putting this player on balanced attack and overlap, he's going to make the overlapping runs to add the extra width, so we have a wide option as well as a narrow option, and this is super effective, guys, and will make a lot more chances for you. Now, for the right back, I have him on stay back and overlap. We have him on stay back, so we've always at least got a back three, so we're nice and defensively sound. And for the same reason as the left back, we have him on overlap, so he does make the overlapping runs to add extra width when we do send him forward. As for the centre backs, guys, and the goalkeeper, these are on the default settings and I do not touch them. But yeah, they are my custom tactics and player instructions for the 4-2-3-1. If you have enjoyed or found this useful, please be sure to drop this a like, sub to the channel if you are new, and don't forget to turn on notifications. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.